Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the Sales Scoop. This is a live recording, and it's a show for startups who want to improve how they sell. We tackle the hottest topics in sales and bring you the juiciest pearls of wisdom from experienced sellers across the board. I'm Alistair Cole, your host for this session and a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership. My background is as a software engineer and ex-computer scientist, and I've 20 years experience in marketing and 4 years now experience in sales, specifically sales for startups. And I'm joined by my co-founder, Kieran Gill. Hi, Kieran.
Good afternoon or good morning, Alistair, depending on where you are in the world. Might be even some good evenings. Hi, everybody. My name's Kieran. I'm a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership. Also, I've got 25 odd years now experience in B2B business. I've worked in business development. I've worked in tech. I've worked in sales operations. I've worked also in finance. So yeah, bring all that to the party as well.
Thank you. And together we accelerate sales for startups through our unique combination of sales, marketing, product, and technology experience. And today's topic is all about the sales playbook for 2024 and what the essentials are for startups. It's a really important topic, isn't it, my friend?
It is. It's fundamental to your business, especially in B2B. I've been doing this now where I've been working in sales operation for a lot of large and small companies for the last 10 years. And fundamentally, this is where it's success or not. Some companies have a sales playbook that they use. Some companies have a sales book they never use. And some companies don't even have a sales playbook and just make it up on the fly as they go along. Obviously, the companies that tend to have a sales playbook and use it are the ones that are successful. That's what I've seen in the last 12 to 15 years of doing this, Alistair.
Yeah, writing it down, creating a home for your thoughts and your sales approach is absolutely critical. I think of all the startups that we've worked with in the last 4 years, and many of them, almost 50, have been through our 360 sales diagnostic tool. The average score for sales methodology is just 42.8, which isn't super high. And across different sectors, we see different scores. So professional services, as you might expect, leading the way in terms of that definition, the sales methodology, then software as a service, and at the bottom of the pack there, non-profits and social services, not as good as others at creating a playbook and defining their methodology. So kind of no surprise there. And like you say, those who we see with more advanced playbooks are doing much better. And today we're going to break it down into 3 areas. We're going to look at the cornerstone, the fact that sales playbook needs to be the cornerstone of your sales. The second key area is that it should be simple and friendly. And the third, that it needs to be used as a living, breathing document that you use on a regular basis. Before we get into that, have you got any memories of where sales playbooks have been used brilliantly in the last 4 years, or where they've been used terribly?
I've got some great stories. The good ones are the ones that you don't tend to remember. Unfortunately, the good ones are the ones where the sales function or the sales operation of that company is working really well, and the sales playbook is doing what it's supposed to do, and everybody's reading from the same kind of book itself and making sure it's all implemented. Where I've seen some disasters, some real disasters, where companies even think that they have it, but no one's actually looking at it. And everything is ad hoc. So the whole sales process, the understanding of what the sales strategy is, and once you start digging away at it, and that was my job as a consultant. I used to go in and help companies implement this, and still do that with us at Uplift Partnership. And what you would find would be they have all the information, but yet everyone's doing something different. It was just crazy to see that the time and effort had been put in to build a sales playbook, and then it wasn't implemented. And tell you the truth, that those companies were missing a trick by not using it for what it was supposed to be used.
Yeah, it's one of the documents that we're in all the time. We're kind of living and breathing in there, refining, especially now in January, the start of the year, we're refining our ideal customer profiles. We're looking at our value propositions. We're using it as a kind of live document. So I'm in there almost every day, if not every day, and I think that adds a lot of value. So, at the end of this session, we're going to talk a little bit about an exciting new prototype we've got, a sales playbook generator that is hot off the production line. We'll park that a little bit later. That's very exciting. Let's dive into these 3 areas, Kieran. So let's talk first about why and how it should be the cornerstone of your sales function with your startup. You alluded to it a little bit just then, but would you like to elaborate?
Yeah. So the thing is, your sales playbook, it can be different for all companies. And what we're talking about is the uplift way of trying to do this. So the years of experience that Alistair and myself are bringing to uplift is what we're trying to talk about here. So sales playbooks, if you put that general kind of term into Google, you'll get all sorts of different things depending on where you're looking at it from and which kind of direction. For us, a sales playbook theoretically needs about 12 different sections, I think, or 11 sections that we got, Alistair. And of that, you've got the strategy part that's at the top, where that's all your target market, your metrics, everything that you're trying to accomplish, all the things that you should have in there. And then towards the end or towards the bottom of the playbook, that's where your meaty kind of processes, your methodologies, and all of that stuff comes into play. The reason that you keep it in one place and you have it as a living document is that it's somewhere that your sales operation lives. And that as your company grows, everybody goes to the same document to find the same thing to make sure that it's happening. Now, if your processes are in one place, it's quite easy to see if things are going wrong or if things are going right and what's there. Now, if you haven't got them documented somewhere, that's a disaster because you don't really know where to improve things. And again, that's the same place where your target analysis would be, or your target market analysis. So your ideal customer profile, your buyer personas, all the market and information that you need. Your competitor analysis would be in another section. So this document really is a living and breathing document that your company is going to use to basically make sure that they are selling as efficiently as they possibly can.
And as Reggie James just made a great comment on LinkedIn about how vital sales strategy, and this is a key part of sales strategy. And a lot of the founders and the sales leaders that we talk to, they've got a lot of it in their head. Maybe they're solopreneurs, they've got a small team, and actually they think that that's okay. And actually what we've seen is by them even writing it down, even just for themselves, they're able to consider it, pontificate on it, evolve it, and end up with even better value propositions, better ideal customer profiles, and better message templates, because that's a key section. So you can go in and copy and paste something out. So it really is that kind of cornerstone, right? And I think about it like our HQ. It has links out to other documents, our image libraries and our post generation tools and all the other tools that we use as links out to stuff. But that sales playbook in the form of either a kind of Microsoft Word, or we use Google, so a Google Doc in that format is the best way.
Yeah, totally. And the great thing about it, Alistair, where we've implemented with companies and when we've put this in place, isn't it brilliant when you see that the salesperson or the sales, development rep goes into the document, goes to the point where their lead generation is, and they're looking for that particular marketing asset that they want to send to a prospect, and it's there. No messing around, no hunting for it. And also from a marketing point of view, you're updating these documents in the background, and that the salespeople have that the document that you want, the best version of that document in that link. So there's none of this kind of, are they sending something from 2012 that hasn't been updated and the branding's all wrong? No, you go to the sales playbook, you go to the link, you click the link, and it takes you straight to where the marketing asset is. And the people from marketing, whoever it is, whether it's a small team, big team, whatever it is, they've updated, and you've got the best version that needs to be sent to that prospect.
Yeah. And you talked about going into Google and doing search for it, and there are lots of different places where you can get sales playbooks. I mean, Notion and other places have templates that you can download, you can use, you can even create your own templates. You can get it from kind of everywhere. One of the reasons that we've built the Sales Playbook generator is, it, like you said, it's the uplift way and the sections that we think are relevant for startups and those smaller businesses, and that it being that cornerstone, right? I see that as being really important in terms of also including some of the company's mission and vision and the overall sales targets. They're absolutely critical, the kind of business basics, the sales strategy, other stuff you've talked about, but then getting right down into the technology and tools, lists of tools, and messaging templates. I find myself in our messaging template section the whole time, copying something and then refining it and sharing it out. Mm-hmm. And we know that this works, right? Like you say, it's great to see the faces of founders and sellers, but it isn't just our clients across the board. We're seeing companies that have a strong ideal customer profile and that is written down in their playbook. Those that have that in place, 2/3 of them are winning more accounts than their peers because they've defined it and it's written down, and everybody on the team is clearly moving in that direction. So absolutely critical cornerstone. Let's move on to section 2. So making it simple and friendly, right? Friendly to use. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that? How can startups do that?
So the thing is, first of all, the document needs to be accessible to everybody who needs to use it. And, so keeping it in a drive is probably the best place to be, because it's a living document. That means everybody's got access to it. And when it becomes simple, the way I always think about simple is that whoever's looking at it understands exactly where they are, what they're doing, and what it needs to be done. So the language needs to be done in a way that everybody gets what that has to happen in that particular section. So it's written very simply. So the template that we've created and the template that we implement into other companies is that we keep it as, we don't want to make it into something that's so complex that no one is able to understand what's going on there. It's got to be simple to the point that you go in and realistically a child would be able to go in there and say, okay, I understand this. This has to go. This is what I need to send to a prospect. This is where I need to, this is our pricing lists, whatever it is. It just has to be easy.
Yeah. And we've toyed with different formats, but I think we've settled now for 2024 on a kind of Google Doc, a Word doc version, plain text. And I mean, I love being able to go in there on my phone if I'm out and about. So that accessibility is critical, written in plain English, links out to other documents. And the deep complexity can be elsewhere. If you need to get into diagrams and fine details and deep dives into other areas of business, then that can be left in a separate document with a link to get in there. And it's important to go and refine your playbook continuously. So as you're adding to it, maybe chunks need to be moved out into other documents so that the playbook stays light and high level. So yeah, and something that's really important to me is about making it friendly, is the kind of culture of not making it boring or stressful. That I want to be able to go in there. It's not a dirty word or something I'm scared of that I do infrequently. I want it to be a regular thing that people get into. Can playbooks ever be really fun, Kieran? What do you think?
Well, I don't know about being fun, but for a sales team, it's fundamental. It's your foundation. I don't think I've seen many fun ones, but what I've seen is I've seen some very practical ones, and I've seen some playbooks are very, very difficult to understand or to it's become a place where everybody's thrown in something and you can't really find anything. And that's why I think as you've said, Alistair, the structure's so important. I find the fun comes out of it being usable.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Maybe that's me. It's because it's our business. So for me, going in there and playing with it or changing it and using it on a daily basis, I find quite fun. So maybe it's the fun is in fundamental. And then that last section, the third bit, right? So it is the cornerstone. It needs to be simple and easy to use. And it needs the third section is it needs to be a living document in our eyes. You need to be able to, immerse in it on a regular basis. I mean, it's one of my permanently open tabs. So I'm in there, I keep it open, I'm in there all the time, I'm referring to it, we're polishing it, considering it. And I talked a little bit about moving sections out. What are your thoughts on maybe stuff that definitely should be in there or definitely shouldn't be in there for startups that are watching now? Any watch outs?
Yeah, well, the thing is, as your company grows, it gets more complex in your selling. So, you might have different targets in different markets, and those different targets and different markets, your sales book is going to slowly, your sales playbook is slowly going to grow. So where you want to be different, you've got to keep it usable. That's the big thing I would always say. So what the big thing I can say at the start of your sales playbook is to look at the sections and really think about whether you need to have those sections in there. Because as a solo entrepreneur, there are going to be big gaps in your playbook that you don't really need to worry about. You don't need to worry about team structure and bits like that, to tell you the truth, because at this moment in time, you haven't got a team, or you might not need to think too much about your learning documents and things like. So look at the parts that you need, and that's why I think it's important to speak to someone who knows how to do this at the start, to make sure that you've got the main parts in there. So your sales strategy, parts of your sales strategy, such as your metrics are in there, your target market, those kind of fundamentals are in there, and then your lead generation and the way you're going to close deals are in there. And some of the other resources or some of the other sections you might lightly touch on, but you don't really need to go into there too much. But as time goes on, you'll notice that just out of just doing the work, you're going to be filling up the other sections, because you'll get more and more information about your sales operation. And as you do that, you'll be able to go back to your sales playbook and then review it and update it as it's required.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. It's that kind of that constant updating. I find myself almost ideating in there. So I'll be looking at a particular ideal customer profile that we've reviewed, and then I start making notes about how we might engage them, and I start thinking about the kind of imagery and the creative concepts and it all starts to fill out there. And then I have to go and grab that and take it out, because obviously that isn't the place for kind of like, marketing campaign ideas or visuals and that stuff. But it tends to start for me in the playbook, right? It's the kind of the DNA, the starter. And then, tell me about the kinds of good habits that you would expect startups to have, and to be, what behaviors should they be having and looking from the playbook and you doing in their day-to-day operations as a sales function?
Okay, so the major things that I would say is that the strategy part, you're not going to go into that too often. You're going to do that work, and especially from a solo entrepreneur or a startup point of view, you should have an understanding who your target market is, who your best fit customers are, and who you're chasing, and how much you're expecting to turn over, all of those kind of things. These things, cadence wise, once they're done, you probably don't need to visit them every week. You can probably leave that to every 3 months, 6 months, depending on what you're doing. And then realistically, the bottom part of your playbook, where you're more about your methodologies and your processes, that pretty much you're going to be in there most days, because you're going to be building your processes, and you want to make sure that however you're selling, that you're doing it in a process. You don't want this to be an ad hoc kind of thing that you do, and you don't, one day you do it this way and the next day you do it another way. You want to try to keep it together, and that's why the playbook's a great place to be, because that will keep you straight and true. It's your North Star. It makes you it makes you go that way. And if you're a solo entrepreneur, or you're a small startup, or even a larger startup, everybody's then doing the same thing. Everyone goes to the playbook and they can see it. So some parts of the playbook are you're going to have, like you said, Alice, that they're going to be open all day. They're going to be the parts there. You've got your templates there. You've got your lead generation process there. And as time goes on, you might not even need to open it so often, because it's already ingrained in you and what you're doing. So at the start, the habit is to do the main sections, and then put them to one side and then review them every so often. And then the bottom part, where it's your lead generation, your deal closing, and your customer success, you probably want to be in there every day to make sure that you're following the processes that you've built, or the processes that you're following that somebody else might have built for you.
Yeah, you make a good point about ad hoc there, because that level of maturity is something that we help startups identify themselves, whether they are ad hoc and whether they are basic, whether they have some standardization and formality, or they become data driven and then ultimately they move to a kind of super dynamic and agile approach. But working out where you are from informal to hyper dynamic is an important early step. It's one of the things that we cover off when we engage startups through our 360 sales diagnostic product to work out exactly where they are, where they should be going. And now's a great time as well, isn't it, to be reviewing your playbook. I mean, we're doing it. It's January. We've already reviewed our sales activity from last year, what was working, what wasn't, what we're going to do differently this year, and now we're updating our ideal customer profiles and our value propositions and everything. We're reassessing everything at the start of the year. So whether you're a startup that has a playbook or doesn't have one, now this month is a good time to really climb into it and review and make sure that it's working hard for you. So I talked at the top of the show about an exciting new prototype that we've got, which you know about, obviously, as part of the business. I have a exciting update for you, my friend, that I think we're basically there as a prototype. We were hoping would be, but it's there as a kind of prototype, not a fully fledged product just yet, but it's there as a prototype, which we're calling the Sales Playbook Generator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very exciting. And you were hoping that we would have that ready, that we'd be able to share that with our viewers, and I can confirm that we can, Mr. Gill.
Right. Wow.
And I can answer any questions you might have about how that works.
Okay.
Or any thoughts.
Okay. So what is the Sales Playbook Generator, Alistair? Why would I ask you for one?
Well, we realized that in creating playbooks for a lot of our startups, that obviously there's a similar kind of template, right? There's the uplift way of doing it, and that's a combination of our experience working with startups over the last 4 years, and also our wider sales experience beyond that. And we realized that it's a similar kind of template that's tailored for them, and so we could put our heads together to create a prototype that will generate a playbook. Okay, it's a starter, it's not the full finished thing, but will generate a playbook for a small business in a matter of minutes, so that we can help startups create that playbook if they don't have it, really quickly, and start refining and start getting into it.
Okay, so industry wise, is there a particular industry I need to be from to get this playbook from you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've got experience across, lots of different sectors for startups: professional services, medtech, non-profits, SaaS, IT software services. So there's like 5 big areas that we get across, and I think we can help with all of them. So we tailor that playbook based on the sector that the startup is in, and of course it includes the aspirations of the sales function of that company, which we take those during an hour's meeting, and we feed those to our experience plus their aspirations we feed that into our uplift template, and we use our AI powered tools to then create a 5 to 10 page sales playbook that is personalized for that company. And then our final stage is that we're using the human touch, our personal human skills and experience, to kind of refine that and make sure that it is ready for them, and then we can hand it over. So it's fast tracking the creation of a personalized and hopefully highly valuable sales playbook.
Wow. So how do I get one?
So that's the Sales Playbook Generator. We haven't yet worked out what we're doing about pricing. However, the prototype is hot off it's early days. We haven't had the discussion. The prototype is hot off the press. And I would propose live on air with you that we offer it to anybody watching now or is registered for this event, that we have a limited number of 100% free AI generated playbooks that we'd like to hand out using our new product. Or what do you think?
I hope you'd spoken to me before you said the word free, but you know, I'm going to have to live with it now. No, that's great. Well, you know, a part of our kind of mantra, Alistair, as we've started the Uplift partnership, that it wasn't always to do. It was about helping companies to sell better. You know, simplify sales, sustainable performance. We've played around with a lot of different terms, and I think, you know, the one thing that both you and I have been speaking about a lot in the last 6 months is about playbooks and how, you know, there is an uplift way of doing this, and we want to share that. And I think this, you know, if it's AI generated, and everything seems to be AI generated nowadays, it's great because it means less work to be done by me. So I'm all in.
Good stuff. So anybody on the call, hit us up on LinkedIn or email if you'd like to take advantage of a limited edition of free inaugural outputs from our exciting new prototype Sales Playbook generator. Something else that I should mention that we talked about earlier was our 360 sales diagnostic tool, and that has formed the basis of a lot of the data that we've captured from startups over the last 4 years. It's a 75-minute meeting with us, and then we create a score, your deep score, and a personalized 25-page report. And we do another session with presentation and questions. And the the 360 sales diagnostic is an excellent way to accelerate your sales across the board if you're a startup. So that's it. We're kind of coming to the end. Great to have talked about the playbook again. I think in my mind, Kieran, is that I always feel a bit anxious that it feels like quite a basic thing, right? Because ultimately we're talking about a document, and that I have to keep reminding myself that that's how it should be. You know, it should be a kind of a really simple, easy to access on any device rather than a complex tool. And that it's highly valuable in that format. And I'm kind of inspired to climb back into ours and set it up for the rest of the year. So look, before we wrap up, any final thoughts on playbooks people to take away, or on the new playbook generator?
I know you call it simple, and I think it is a bit simple. But the thing is, like most salespeople know, or people who've worked in sales, sales is a combination of two things. It's a part art and it's part science. What I like to think is the playbook is the science part. It's where it's documented. It's very formulaic. It has the formulas in there and everything. The art part of sales is implementing that and making sure that the methodologies, it doesn't take the human element away from it. You know, your playbook is there to make sure that you keep the processes. And I know so many people in sales, we all talk about the sales process. It's crazy when you walk into a company, how many people are just doing ad hoc, weird things. And then they wonder why their sales aren't happening. And you think, because you're not following the process. So the major thing I would turn around is get a playbook. If you want one from us, great. If you don't want one from us, just get a playbook and then stick to it. That's the major thing, and you'll be successful. Honestly, I've seen so many companies that with really bad products, just because they have a great playbook, it works. So there you go.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely perfect way to sign off. Just thank you to all of our watchers, listeners live, and if you're watching this on record, that's us for today. A great way to finish, Kieran. Sales Playbook makes you more successful. Thank you very much for your time, my friend.
And you, Alistair. Well, I'll see you soon. See you later, everyone.
See you soon. Bye. Bye.